Okay, so Kenzie, first we're gonna go over informed consent. It's the big five, so anything you say to me is confidential and it'll just be between us, and we're just gonna cover that you understand that this is being recorded, but you're not in the frame,
Okay.
and that I'm gonna upload it to YouTube, but the only people that are gonna see it is my professor and me.
Okay.
And then anything you say in here is confidential. It's just between us and my professor who views this video. But if you release to me that there's been abuse to a child, an elderly person, somebody with a disability that can't fend for themselves, or if you have thoughts of suicide or you're a risk to yourself or others, that I have to report that.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. So, tell me a little bit about your summer. How's it going so far?
It's going good. I'm living in Grand Forks for the summer, and I'm working at Douglas Place as a recovery specialist there, and I actually just got moved to doing admissions there. So that's been fun, and I went on a trip to Canada, did some fishing up there.
Yeah. That's been your trip so far? Your big one to Canada?
Yep, so we went to Canada, we went fishing up there, and then we just celebrated the 4th of July. Went to Brainerd for the 4th of July.
Nice. So tell me about this switch to admissions. What do you do in admissions compared to your other job?
So as a recovery specialist, we're mostly just helping clients with whatever they need, such as unlocking doors, helping them with laundry, helping them with any orders, basically anything they need around the building. And then with admissions, when any admit comes in, I take care of all of their paperwork, such as all of their releases of information that they need to sign, any type of paperwork that is needed for corporate. And then I give them a tour around the building. I go through all of their stuff and get them to their room, get them a key, and help them with any other needs that are necessary.
Okay. Was that your job before, or is that's admissions now?
Yep, so admissions is now.
Okay. So how's that change been for you?
It's been good. It was a little hectic at first, but it's been a lot better now that I kind of created my own routine to doing everything, and just it's gone a lot more smoothly, and I'm finally figuring everything out.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of excited about the new change.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot busier. I had started out on nights when I first took the job at Douglas Place, and that was really slow. I wasn't doing as much, so now the change to admissions, I'm a lot busier. I'm always doing something throughout the day. I'm not sitting around like I was before, so that change has definitely been helpful.
Okay, what's been the most helpful part of it?
I guess just moving. I'm such an active person. I always like to be doing something. I'm not very good at just sitting around all the time, and I like to keep myself busy. So I think just for my personal, I don't know how to say that, but just personally, just staying busy all the time, keeping my mind on something else, and doing things definitely helped a lot.
So maybe not just kind of sitting there, maybe unsure of what to do on the overnights and just keeping yourself busy and all that.
Exactly, because with overnights, it was just like, oh, you go and do a round once, make sure everybody's in the building, and now you wait for 2 hours until your next round because everybody's sleeping.
Okay.
Where it's nice, I really enjoy interacting with clients too, compared to when they're all sleeping. I mean, you're not having that interaction with groups or with one-on-ones or anything, so it's nice actually meeting the clients and gaining more of a relationship with them than not meeting them at all.
Okay, so you prefer to have like that hands-on experience like with the clients.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So what's been your favorite part about like meeting these people?
Just hearing their stories and like the background they've come from. I think I felt pretty sheltered until I started working at Douglas Place, and I was pretty naive to everything that kind of goes on around the world, I guess, and even around locally. I didn't really understand everything, and it's really opened my eyes to different backgrounds that people come from compared to what I came from myself.
Yeah. So that, what's the word, like, naiveness? What, like, can you expand on that? Like, what you were sheltered from?
I think I was just like, in high school, I was so focused on sports. I was focused on my own friends and staying out of trouble, I guess, whatever you classify as trouble. And I just never really focused on what other groups of people were doing, or such as getting into other types of drugs or alcohol, because I didn't do any of that. Growing up, I wasn't even like my parents. I just was really kept sheltered from it, I guess. So it's just been really interesting to see how people have grown up and how they've gotten into certain situations, and how, like, it's inspiring to see how they're trying to get out of them too.
Yeah, it sounds like you've really confronted, like, stuff that you haven't seen before.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, some of it I didn't even know about. Like, certain drugs and other items, I was like, I don't even know what that is. So it's definitely been a learning experience, which has been awesome for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been very eye-opening for you.
Yeah, which I've enjoyed it more than anything.
Yeah. So those personal experiences, or like those connections that you made in hearing those people's stories, it's made you feel like you've kind of come out of your shell a little bit and like learned a bit about
I
different
definitely
people?
think so. I think it almost it doesn't make me look at life completely different, but it definitely gives me a new perspective, and just opens my eyes to what else is out there in the world than what I do in my everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Is that scary for you at all?
I mean, it kind of hits home a little bit, especially when it's people who might be from more of a local area. Because, yeah, you can hear about things happening around the world, but you don't really think about them happening in the town next to you, or in the same state, in your same town. You don't really think about that until you're actually in the situation where you're meeting someone like that. Yeah, I kind of forgot what your question was there.
Well, just how has it been like hearing those stories and stuff, especially if it's, these small northern towns that, you and I are from. So, but just to expand, like when you're sitting in these room with like these clients and they're telling you these stories, like are you reacting in front of them, or you just kind of?
I think, like, I try to, you don't want to say too much, but then again, you don't want to just keep saying yeah over and over again. So you kind of like I'll ask them questions and just to know more myself, but I don't really know how to react. I mean, sometimes you want to just like tear up because they'll start crying in front of you, and if other people cry, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry now. But I try to hold in my emotions for the most part. But no, I think it definitely hits you in certain situations, and a lot of things you'll be with these people for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden they'll tell you something, and it doesn't change your perspective on them, but it's kind of an eye-opener, like, oh, they can be, I never would have expected that from that person. And with admissions, it's interesting too, because a lot of them come and they'll sit down and they'll tell you their story right away. And so, because you're kind of the first person they're the first person they meet at this new building, and they'll sit down and they'll explain their story right away. So that's pretty interesting. That's another part that I do like about admissions too, is just being that first face that those people see, or hearing their stories right away.
Yeah, maybe be kind of the welcoming committee for the place.
Yeah.
So, do you ever go back to your parents and tell them these stories and are like, I didn't know any of this?
Yeah, I usually, I'll call my mom, and obviously keep what you need to confidential, but I'll tell her stories that I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom, this person, came, and, she's a nurse, so she's seen some of this stuff, but she has never, expected me to hear all of this.
Yeah.
some of it. But even her, too, I mean, she finds all of it so interesting, too. But, yeah, there's definitely lots of stories to be told just because, like I said, our family has never been around a lot of those situations.
Yeah. You said your mom was in healthcare?
Yep.
She's a nurse?
Yep, she's a nurse.
So do you think her being like a nurse and helping people kind of made you want to help people like what you're doing?
It really did. I'm pretty inspired by my mom. I mean, when you go to the hospital, everybody comes up to you and they're like, your mom is just such a great nurse. And it's like, you just want to be that person. I didn't want to be a nurse, and like everything really freaks me out.
Yeah, in what way?
I don't like hospitals. I'm just not a hospital person. Just don't like to be in them. I don't know why. I think from when I was a little girl, I've just always been like that. And I just knew I like really didn't want to be a nurse, and that's why, or a doctor. That's what my brother did. He just is finishing up school to be a physician's assistant.
Okay.
So I thought about doing that, and I was like, I really don't want to do that, but I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field because of her. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to give back somehow. So that's how I ended up choosing physical therapy. Okay. And she, like you said, I mean, it definitely sprung from her being in the healthcare field and helping people. So, but I knew I wanted to have the option to be in a clinical setting and do more of physical stuff with the body rather than the surgeries or helping people after when they're sick.
Kind of the gory parts of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it sounds like your family is all kind of maybe in the same field of like trying to help people.
Pretty much. Besides, I mean, my dad and my other brother are still helping people. My one brother the other one is an engineer.
Okay.
And then my dad works at a paper mill just as a manager there.
Okay, cool. So tell me a little bit more about your family and how they affected, like, you know, like your mom inspiring you to help people out.
My brothers definitely helped me out too. They really shaped me. I mean, growing up with two brothers, you do what they want to do or you don't hang out with them, basically. Yeah. So they toughened me up pretty dang good.
Yeah. How so?
I mean, when I was little, it was always like wrestling, fishing, hunting, or you didn't hang out with the boys. So I was always the little girl who tagged along with everything. I would go on fishing trips with all boys. Mm-hmm. I would go sit in the at the deer shack with all boys because no other girls wanted to come, and my mom was busy or she was at home doing something. And so that definitely, I was pretty much a tomboy when I was little, for the most part. Except my mom kind of helped me. She's like, "You're still my little girl." Aww. But no, so they definitely, and even like up until then, they got me into playing hockey, and I basically played every sport that they did. Yeah. Because you want to be just like your older brothers. So they really shaped me in that way. Okay. And definitely helped out. We didn't fight at all. My mom didn't allow that. Yeah. So we all got along really well, which was nice.
Yeah. Are you still pretty close with them, you'd say?
Oh, very close, yeah. I mean, my one brother moved to Florida, but he is back now in Minnesota anyway. But so that was kind of hard because he was away for a while. But yeah, we talk once or twice a week, and we're still very close.
So what was difficult about him being gone?
It was just, I mean, him and we have a 6-year age difference, so we weren't as close as our middle brother, who, with him and I, it's only about 2.5 years. Okay. And Ryan and I, the middle one, had a lot of, like, the same friends and that type of stuff. But Nate and I mean, he graduated before I was in high school even, so he was kind of off to college, off doing his own thing, so that kind of made it, and then when he moved away, but I think as we've both gotten older now, we've definitely grown a lot closer, and after him going through, PA school, he comes back and helps me with all of everything I have to do through schooling, such as my studying, getting ready for exams and that. He's been huge with helping out with that.
So he's still kind of shaping you, even though you're not hunting and fishing.
Definitely. Oh, exactly.
Did he make the trip up to Canada?
He wasn't able to. Ryan, the middle one, was able to come for a few days. Okay. But Nate is going through all of his rotations right now, and he's working. He's trying to study for his final exams, and he's just trying to get everything done. So he wasn't able to make it up to Canada, unfortunately. But he graduates in August. Okay. So then he'll hopefully get a job and then be able to take time off to come up to Canada with us.
So how's it been since he's moved back, he's back in Minnesota, but you haven't been able to maybe hang out with him as much?
Yeah.
What I'm getting?
Yeah, because I am living in Grand Forks for the summer, like I said, and he was in Duluth doing one of his rotations, and now his last rotation's in Grand Rapids. I mean, it is only a 3-hour difference, but it's still tough, and he's working almost every single day. Mm-hmm. So even if I do go home, it's hard to see him, but we still talk on the phone once or twice a week at least, and so you still have that relationship with me even if I don't get home as much. But I'm hoping he wants to try to get a job at least near Minnesota, not go back down to Florida.
You didn't like that one?
It was too hot down there, I think, for him. And he misses the hunting and fishing and everything. So if I do stay in Grand Forks to go to PT school or somewhere near Minnesota, but at least we'll still be close. Yeah. And then our other brother, he's down in near Minneapolis with his job. So we're all at least near the same state. Anyway.
You're in the vicinity, but maybe you guys are all kind of still doing your own
Close enough.
things.
At least we don't have to take, flights to go see each other anymore.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It's a car ride.
Yeah. So, your dad, you said he works at a paper mill?
Yep.
Okay, and how is he doing with, the whole having your brother... Well, Nate back, and then Ryan's still in the cities, and you're here.
I think they're happy to finally have, one kid back, because we all of a sudden, we were just, all moved out.
Just and usually... syndrome.
Yeah, and usually, when Ryan moved out, he came back for the summer, after college. But I went to college for 1 year, and then I went straight up to Alaska to work for the summer. So they were, really just... all of a sudden out of kids. Everybody just decided to move away, and then so I was on one side of the state in Alaska, or the country in Alaska, and Nate was on the other side of the country in Florida, and then Ryan was down in the cities, so at least they had him to go drive and visit if they needed to. But we were just kind of all over the place. Luckily, my aunt and uncle and their 3 little kids moved to town. Okay. So they lived with my parents while they were trying to move into their house for a few months. So at least my mom had her little kids to take care of for a few months. Yeah. And my friends are pretty good about going over and visiting them and at least having them have kids around.
Maybe being their surrogate sons and daughters.
Exactly. So I think it was a little bit of a weird adjustment for them just because my mom would call me and she's like, I'm still making huge meals she's like, I'm still cooking for 5 and there's only 2 of us. But they're so funny. They go out and do things usually during the winters, they would be running us around for hockey every single weekend. But she's like, we've been ice fishing every weekend and we were able to go do this and go do this, which they never really had time to do growing up with us. So I think they're enjoying it now, and they were able to make a trip up to Alaska to see me, and they made multiple trips down to Florida to see my brother.
Oh, yeah.
So they're able now to kind of have the time to work and do more traveling, which I think they're really enjoying.
That's good. It sounds like you also got you're wanting to stay busy from them as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. They're not ones. My mom doesn't even sit around and watch TV. She maybe watches a couple episodes of Netflix a week, but otherwise she's not one. I called her on on Mother's Day, and I was like, oh, are you going to go out, do something special? She's like, oh, you know me, I'm just doing yard work today. I'm like, Mom, you need to, like, sit, relax.
That's funny.
It's your day today, like, it's Mother's Day. And she's like, oh, like, I just like to stay busy. So, yeah, I definitely get that from them.
Yeah. So, you said your aunt and uncle lived with your parents?
Yep.
So, and they moved back to Grand Rapids then?
Yep, so they had lived in Duluth, and then they had 3 kids while they were in Duluth, and then they ended up, they knew at some point they wanted to move to Grand Rapids, but my uncle, it just worked out that his company that he worked for in Duluth also has a place in Deer River, which is right next to Grand Rapids, and so they were able, his company moved everything for them to Grand Rapids, but they weren't able to get into their house yet that they bought. They ended up buying a house right down the lake from us.
Okay.
And so they just moved in with us for a few months because all of us kids were out of the house, so we had a bunch of open rooms until they could get into their house. So, but now they're finally in and remodeling it, and so it all worked out awesome.
And what was it like having them back?
It's so nice. It was, because I didn't really see them that often when they lived in Duluth. But now every time I go home, I mean, they're right up the road, so it's easy just to go visit them. And the 3 little kids, it's so fun because they all play sports, so we go into all of their games. It's like having 3 little siblings when I go home because we're all pretty close. And so it's been super nice having them near home anyway, so I don't have to make extra trips to go visit them.
There you go. Just kind of keeping it all together then.
Exactly. Finally, and then so my mom has 4 brothers, and one of the other ones actually just bought land in Grand Rapids too, and they're planning on moving back to Grand Rapids next year.
You guys don't even have to have family reunions.
Exactly. Everybody's just going to be back in Grand Rapids now. It's crazy. So,
is that something that you're excited about?
I am really excited about that. And it makes me definitely want to move back near Grand Rapids when I get a job, get a husband, have kids, everything. Just even like I grew up with both sides of my grandparents in the same town as me.
Okay.
And I think that was a huge factor growing up, is having grandparents around, having family around all the time, rather than living in a different state or more than a few hours away. So I think that is a huge aspect that I definitely want to have for my own kids.
Yeah.
Is just having lots of family around, because I think it was a big thing for me growing up.
So you want that support system for your family and your children as well?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
How do you think it's shaped you the most?
I think I'm a very family-orientated person, and that's definitely because of that. Even my roommates, they're like, I think your family is one of the closest, most family-orientated people we've met, just because we do, the trip to Canada, that was all of my mom's side. And we've made it a thing to do it every single year for the last 15 years. And I think our whole family really puts those items ahead of everything else, and make it a priority.
So you prioritize family first?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and that springs from my grandparents, from my own parents. It just goes down the line, and everybody in our family really, as a whole, is like that, makes it a priority.
Okay, so besides family, what do you list as your priorities?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
That is a deep one. I think it's changed a lot. In high school, I prioritize, family's always been a priority for me, but in high school I think I prioritized sports a lot. School's always been a priority for me. I've always had a huge focus in it, as much as I didn't want to, but I made sure it was a priority. But sports were a huge priority for me, which I think was good growing up, just because it gave me something to focus on, something to strive hard for. But I think, like, as I grew up, obviously family stayed the same, school stayed the same, but now it's just like working hard and being a good person. I think I prioritize, such as volunteering, um, helping out kind of wherever I can, and just being a good person in general, I think is just a huge priority for me. Um, and that came from watching other people and like being inspired by other people just to lend a helping hand. And I don't know else to explain that.
Yeah.
But I think that became a priority for me.
Good. Well, it sounds like even that, you mentioned sports was a priority in high school, and then when you brought up the present, you said like working hard and being a good person, and it sounds like maybe you learned some of those lessons from not only your family but those sports as well.
Oh, you definitely do. I mean, sports, whether you stick with them or not, I mean, they teach you discipline. They give you a work ethic and give you something, I guess, to strive for, to better yourself in doing it. And I think that definitely carries on throughout your life in anything you do. I mean, for that job you want to get, for any goal you set. I mean, in sports, I set so many goals for myself, and it just taught me, like, to have that work ethic, to set goals, to try to achieve them, to make a plan of how I'm going to do something. And I think that all springs from starting in athletics, or starting at whether you're playing an instrument or doing anything when you're younger, just having activities. Yeah. And I think that's what kept me as such a busy, going back to like being a busy person too, yeah. Is like when I mean, at one point I was playing 5 sports at the same time.
Wow.
And with camps and doing everything. And so it was like you're going from one thing to the next. And I think that's better than sitting and my parents would have never let me like sit and play video games all day or just sit around and watch TV all day. It was like, get outside, go do something, anything. So I think that like completely carried on to how I am now. It started from when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, it sounds like your personality and like your work ethic has really like shaped you into the person you are, and it's been pretty stable, even though maybe definitely. The priorities have changed.
Exactly. Oh, for sure.
So then it was sports, and now it's like the volunteering, you said?
Yeah, the volunteering, making sure, obviously school I make a huge priority. That's what is my main focus, is trying to get into PT school, to do the things up until, and that's gone, like trying to get into PT school, that's gone with trying to get a job that's going to look good on an application, trying to get all the shadowing hours, doing something, even I wanted something that was going to set me apart, so I took up sign language, and I wanted to minor in that, just to have something on my application. So it's all like, and those are just like little goals I've set for myself to achieve something, basically.
Well, it sounds like you're not only goal setting, but you're kind of planning for your future.
Oh, for sure.
So what does that future look like for you?
Oh, hopefully get into a PT school.
Okay.
That's the plan. I'm applying this year, and I'm applying early, because there's certain schools that you don't need a bachelor's degree for. Okay. So I can basically apply with the 90 required credits that I need. So I'll apply to UND, and Creighton and Omaha for sure. Okay. And then I'll have to look into a couple other schools. But the plan is hopefully to get into one of those. And if I don't, then I'll get my kinesiology bachelor's degree with a sign language minor, and then apply the following year. Okay. And try to get in, whether I have to retake my GRE exam or do anything that I need to be able to get into PT school. And then if I don't get into UND or Creighton or anything this year, then I really want to apply to Colorado. Okay. And try to go there, or Montana, or somewhere cool, just because I have an adventure side to me too. Yeah.
I'd say so, going to Alaska.
Yep. Yep. And so hopefully, and then PT school will be 3 years.
Okay.
And then...
Is that an extra 3 years after, like, say you graduate with your bachelor's, or is that if you get in early?
Either one. So,
okay.
Whenever I get in, it'll be... PT school is just 3 years, year-round. So if I get in, it'll cut a year off for me, basically, in the long run. But if I don't, then it'll be 7 years altogether. And part of that is your rotations, too. So I'm hoping to plan to do some different rotations. And then after that, I hope to get a job. I'll probably end up working, I'm hoping, in the cities in Minnesota for a couple of years. There's the woman I shadowed down there, was a physical therapist who I worked with in high school, too, that I went to myself.
Oh, cool.
And she's really helped me out with everything through physical therapy, with the only physical therapy that I needed, plus helping me. I shadowed with her for a week and just helping me get into schools and kind of guiding me along on what to do. But so I'm hoping I'll be able to possibly work under her.
Okay.
For a few years. She does a different type of physical therapy called postural restoration.
Sounds like something I could use.
Yeah. And so it's just a different physical therapy that she does. You have to take some extra classes to do it.
Okay.
And then, but no one north of her does postural restoration.
Okay.
And so I would like to work under her for a few years and then bring what she does more north.
Oh.
Just to have so people up north don't have to travel down to the cities all the time to do something, along with just regular physical therapy. And then I'm hoping to work, either open my own clinic or work in a clinic in more, not necessarily Grand Rapids, but more northern Minnesota at some point. But I do think it would be kind of cool to go and live somewhere else for a few years, such as Colorado or just a different state, just to do something different before I end up. But I definitely want to, when I get a husband and have kids and everything, I'm pretty sure I want to be in Minnesota.
Okay, yeah, and kind of be close to your family. So.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Minnesota. I love the lakes, and obviously I love to hunt and fish. And
So what's drawing you west as compared to Florida, like your brother?
I don't know. I've just always been more of a, obviously the beach and that's outdoorsy too, but more of like a hiking type of person, in the mountains, on the lake, doing something. I do love the beach for a vacation, don't get me wrong. But I think I wouldn't, it would be nice. Could definitely live there for a few years, but I don't think I would appreciate the beach as much as I do if I lived there year round.
Okay.
Plus, I love the heat, but I don't think I could do 90 plus degrees all summer long.
No?
In Florida.
Okay. So, when you come back and you're spending your time with your family, why come back?
To Minnesota?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's just so many things I enjoy about Minnesota. Like, I grew up on a lake. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like a little fish. I'm a huge fan of lake. I love being in the water. Even just boat rides, anything. I just like to be on the water. I don't know why. But, so I think that really draws me near is how many lakes there are in Minnesota. So I know that I definitely want to try to grow, or to like buy a house on a lake at some point. But, and then I love to hunt and I love to fish and just be outdoors, whether it's four-wheeling or just doing something outdoors. And basically all of those things I can do in Minnesota. Okay. You can do them other places too, but I think it's just
kind of keeping with tradition, but it's just,
it kind of has... it's kind of like the homegrown feeling, I guess. I know about everything here. But.
Yeah, it sounds like, and, besides growing up here, it sounds like, Minnesota has everything that you would look for. Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest part of it is, like, everything I like to do is there. Mm-hmm. So, why? But it would be cool. I definitely like going up to Alaska and that. Everything's up, like a lot of stuff is up there, too. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. That's why it would be kind of fun to go and live somewhere else for a while, or even go work somewhere else for a year or 2 years and just experience something before I actually settle down and live in Minnesota for the rest of my life or whatever. But
exactly. Well, it sounds like you have, your end goals and you're taking the steps that, you need to take in order to get there.
Oh, definitely. I hope so anyway.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Are you nervous at all about it?
I mean, not really. I think I take things really... I set long-term goals for myself, but then again, I really take things day to day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of spur-of-the-moment person, too.
Yeah.
And things change, so I wouldn't say I'm nervous about it, but obviously you hope everything works out.
Yeah. How do you feel about it, about making those plans?
I don't know. I mean, I feel good about, and I like that I have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least something. I mean, it took me a while to even figure that out. I wasn't sure that physical therapy was exactly what I wanted to do for a while, and I was hoping I would go up to Alaska and a guest would come up and they'd have this job that I would just know I wanted to do and change my course and everything. I almost thought about going to law school, and I don't know why, but so I think. And then I ended up coming home from Alaska more sure that I wanted to do physical therapy. It was exactly opposite of what I thought was going to happen. And so I think it's nice for me just knowing whether it works out or not that I do have a plan, that I do have something, to look forward to, something to, drive myself to actually do. And so I feel pretty good about it.
I feel like you have that base. You're not
I think
sure.
so, yeah. I mean, now it's just actually achieving, and I have the set plan, but it's just doing everything to get to where I want to be.
Right. Cool. So, you said that you were looking at a place in Omaha?
Yep.
Is that just because they have, the early entrance, or?
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily... I've never been to Omaha.
Okay.
So I'd have to take a trip out there just to see it.
Yeah.
For myself. But yeah, so they do have the early entrance, which would be something, I mean, like I said, it would cut a whole year of school off for me, which would be huge.
Yeah.
Because then I can use the money I would spend to do that to go do something else if I really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, a lot of it is you can do your rotations somewhere else. So if I wanted to go to Colorado or California or Arizona or somewhere for a rotation, I could do that.
Okay.
So I still do have the opportunity to go somewhere else at some point.
So you do a year and a half in the classroom learning, and then you do rotations basically.
I'm not positive how long exactly it is of classroom learning.
Okay.
But yeah, then after the classroom learning, you go out and do your rotations.
Cool. So your brother, he's PA, you said?
Yep.
So has he been helping? It sounds like you have a great mentor from that you shadow in the cities and stuff.
Yep.
How's your brother been helping with this?
He's helped hugely. I mean, I talked to him last night because I've been trying to study for my GRE, the test I have to take to get into PT school. And he's like, Kenzie, because he's taking the GRE, he's taking the MCAT to get into med school. So he's taken all these huge exams. So he's like, yeah, you can be smart enough, but there's also ways to know how to take a test and prepare for it. So he's been huge, and he's gotten so good at just knowing how to, excuse me, a lot of them are time tests, timed writing, and just knowing how to prepare for those. He's really helped me with, and even before I take the exam, I'm going home for 2 weeks to study for it and kind of work with him. And he's like, I'll teach you how to get ready for these exams and do exactly what you need to, and just make sure you're focusing on your studying and how much you actually need to do, because his first year of college didn't go super well. He didn't focus on school as much as he should have, and it kind of bit him in the butt in the long run. And so he really had to turn around how he was studying and how he was doing everything. And so he nagged me a lot, especially my first year of college, on because he didn't want that to happen to me. Because he, once your GPA is low, it's harder to bring it back up. And so he really wanted to get it in my head right away of how hard you need to study, how much effort you need to put in, that it's not like high school. And so he's definitely helped me with all of that. Because obviously in healthcare we had to do a lot of the same things, such as the shadowing and obviously these same exams, and you're on kind of the same course whether you do PA or PT. Obviously certain things are different, you're shadowing different people and everything, but in the long run it's a lot of the same things. So it's kind of nice having someone who's already gone through it to help me to kind of know how to prepare. Yeah,
it seems like he's really trying to teach you like those strategies that work best, well, for him.
Oh, exactly.
To, work on those tests.
Yep. And when it comes to school, him and I are a lot alike. We both, we're not like super naturally smart. We definitely have to work hard to do well. But, so he kind of knows where I'm at with all of that too. So yeah, it's super nice having him, just help me stay focused and know what I need to do.
Yeah, it seems like you both are very, like, self-motivated. Is that fair to say?
I think so, yeah. And we do motivate each other. But yeah, we are both pretty self-motivated.
Good. So how do you stay motivated besides bouncing ideas off of Nate?
I don't even know. I think I always feel like I'm behind. Yeah. Like, whether it's working out, and I think that's almost a good thing in a way, because I always feel like I should be doing something. Yeah. Like, during the school year, if I'm sitting around, I'm always like, oh, I should be studying. I should be doing something else. And I think that's helpful. Even if I'm not behind, just to have that feeling, because it's always pushing me to go study more, to study that little extra for a test, and I don't even know how to stay self-motivated. I think it just kind of happens. Obviously sometimes I'm lazy and don't do what I should be doing or get distracted, but that's because I'm human. Yeah. So
yeah. It sounds like you're pretty proactive, even if you feel like you're not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Well, we're about done with our session, and we're going to wrap up, but it sounds like you really have, like, those end goals in mind and are setting up yourself to be successful to reach them.
I hope so, yeah.
It seems like you're very comfortable in the settings that you're in.
Yeah.
So, good. All right. Well, how did the session go for you?
I enjoyed it.
Good. Glad to hear it. Well, thank you for being my client.
You're welcome.
Okay.